Did you know that for this show, Amandla Stenberg is an accomplished violinist and performs the score of the series using her grandfather's violin? She was given specific violin arrangements to perform by John Williams. So I finally made it to the end of the Acolyte, and I got a lot of things to say about this final episode, but also just about this entire show in general. And me, I always try to be positive. I always try to find the good things, even in a bad show. And I do have some good things to say about the show, but I do have a lot of bad things to say about this show as well. So I'm going to get into the good things first and then save the bad things for the end. So what I liked about this final episode is I thought there was another great fight sequence between Khmer and Sol. It was cool to see him kind of go round two. For the most part, the choreography in this show has been pretty good. It's not like Revenge of the Sith level, but it's very fast-paced, very cool, really well done, really good use of using the Force, but also kind of combining the martial arts style with a lightsaber. And just crazy lightsaber moves and just very engaging fights. Sol's character was by far my favorite character of this show. He reminded me a little bit of Qui-Gon Jinn. Like, I think that's why I liked him so much, is he had that knowledge and that wisdom that Qui-Gon Jinn had. And he had those good intentions, like he wanted to make up for all the mistakes he made in the past, the things he did to Osha and to May and to their family, and he really had a good heart and really good intentions. And like, you couldn't help feel bad for him at times too, because he's carrying this weight of all this guilt that he has, and he's doing everything he can to make up for it. He definitely had a really great character development and a good character arc in this show. I do think he got screwed over a little bit, but I'll get into that a little later. I liked his character arc, honestly. I didn't really know how his character would end up going, how the other Jedi went, where they all died and they were all murdered, you know, and I had no idea if Sol was going to make it out or not. And his final episode gave me the answer. It was kind of an answer I was expecting, but at the same time, there's a little bit of a plot twist in there with regarding Sol and just how his character ended up going. I do want to say that I thought the plot twist was a little interesting. It was a bit contrived, but at the same time, I thought it was kind of an interesting switch, little bait and switch there. Definitely not what I expected to happen, but a very interesting choice when it came to a plot twist. Okay, so the things I didn't like. I know the show was modeled, you know, in the viewpoint of the Sith. The Jedi were not meant to be seen as the good guys in this show, because it was all kind of told through the eyes of Khmer, and he wanted to look for an Acolyte, which was either May or Osha. So like, when you're looking at the Jedi, for the most part, I've always viewed them as the good guys. I do think they are hypocritical at times. I do think they are definitely uppity and holier than thou at times. But the way they were portrayed in this show, I think, was kind of disrespectful, kind of an insult to, you know, George Lucas, and how, you know, he came up with all this stuff. He came up with the idea of the Jedi and the Sith and their different beliefs, their religion. I think the directors and the writers of the show really just made the Jedi look even worse than they were supposed to be. Like, they're not all like that. They're not all concealing something. They're not all trying to cover up for their mistakes and put the blame on somebody else. But that seemed to be the case here. Sol was screwed over by the Jedi. But they're like two cover-ups. The Jedi didn't want to make themselves look bad, so they threw Sol under the bus, but at the same time, they let a Sith go. Like, they knew he was alive, yet they still let him go, and they're like, oh well, I guess we're gonna let him go now, and it's all Sol's fault when it wasn't his fault. Like, they pinned everything on Sol. Like, the dude may have made mistakes, may have not had the best judgment, but he did not deserve to be screwed over like that. I felt like the ending to the show was pretty weak. I mean, honestly, the writing overall has not been good. There's been some confusing things going on with characters. Like, at one point, you know, May's character specifically, like, she was all in on being the Acolyte, and then she changed her mind. And then Osha had something happen to her, and now the writing's being changed for her. Like, the writing just wasn't good. For this last episode and how it ended was very, just, it didn't stick the landing. There was no ending per se. It was more of kind of a cliffhanger, because they do want to make a season 2, which I really hope doesn't happen, but it's probably going to happen because Disney doesn't care about Star Wars fans anymore. They'll just do it because it makes them money and they're pushing agendas and all that. But the ending was a letdown. Just overall thoughts on the show. I enjoyed it to a certain degree. I will say it is the worst Star Wars show ever made. I'm not shying away from that. It is the worst Star Wars show ever made. But it does have some good things. It does have some intrigue, and I enjoyed certain points and a couple episodes here and there. It's definitely, for me, when it comes to like Star Wars shows, like ranking them, it is at the bottom. It is at the very bottom of my Star Wars shows, just because I had some hopes for this show. I had some theories that I was hoping was going to happen, and none of them happened. None of my hopes happened. None of my theories came true. It was all just completely the opposite of what I thought was going to happen. So that was a letdown, but just the whole lore and the whole disrespect, and the directors, the writers, and the actors who don't know anything about Star Wars, that they're in a Star Wars show playing Star Wars characters. Like, there's a lot of ignorance when it came to this show, and obviously the true Star Wars fans made it known that they were not happy with how the show was done. So I guess we'll see if there's going to be season 2 coming or not. I'm sure Star Wars fans, true Star Wars fans, will have something to say about that. But for this final episode of The Acolyte, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 Mudflaps. And remember, leave me a thumbs up and drop in the comments below. Do you want season 2 of The Acolyte or not? See you next time.